I started making this little bit of money and it started to grow and I had some cash in the bank. And now I started reading these books and they talk about investing in real estate. I was like, all right, let's try this. So I was 19 at the time and I started looking at real estate investment properties. And again, I didn't know what was normal. And I took my MCAT on August 22nd. On August 23rd, I closed on my first real estate investment property. It was a small 1,000 square foot condo out of foreclosure. And I bought it for $8,000. That was the total price of the condo. Condo sold for $150,000 just a few years prior. Wow. And that condo then started paying me $600 a month. And now, you talk about exchanging time for money. See, in the beginning, I didn't understand that concept. Because when I was working in this event planning company, it was just me. If I didn't do everything, nothing was gonna happen. But then this real estate investment property changed the way I thought about it, because now all of a sudden, this asset, I bought this condo, it's paying me money, and I don't gotta physically go host a party. I don't gotta go flip pretzels. I used to work at Auntie Anne's Pretzels as well. I don't have to go and do something. It was just there, I owned it, and now this condo is paying me for just owning the asset. And now all of a sudden I start thinking different. I started to get a little bit upset because I was like, well, why was I never taught about this? We're not taught about investing, we're not taught about financial education, we're not taught about wealth. And that's, talking about now money habits. In a company, you have the workers, then you have the owners. It's kind of like an overlap. And sometimes the workers are the owners, some of them kind of in the center, but the workers are the ones that are now working every single day. You get your salary. The owners aren't working for a salary. They're working for equity, profits. So they're hoping that now the workers will be able to drive up the profits. So now the valuation of this asset is higher. Now, when you have this sort of inflation, who hurts the most? The workers. Your incomes don't grow to keep up with inflation. However, the asset value, which is now the value of the company, disproportionately gets benefited because now this money gets printed, it gets created out of thin air, it flows into assets. And that makes the valuation of companies, for example, to go up. So now you have these two things, right? You have the workers and you have so stimulus checks went out, right? People get cash. You feel wealthier in the short term. Your bank account goes up. Some people took this cash. Maybe they paid off some debt. Maybe you go and invested this money, but a big chunk of people took this cash and then they went out and they spent it. Well, if you need this money, well, yeah, and you had this whole range, right? Some people really needed it. Some people went to Walmart, they went to Kroger, they went somewhere and they bought groceries. Fair. But still, that money, where did they go? They went to Walmart, Kroger, and those companies saw bigger profits because as money was printed, it goes into the hands of people and then it flows to the corporation. Other people went to Louis Vuitton, they went to Gucci, they went to the Apple store, they went to Lululemon. Again, who does it benefit? So the money was printed out of thin air. Somebody has to pay a price for that. The regular person, average people, they have to pay now higher taxes, which is inflation in this case. Yeah. And then where does all the money flow? It flows now to
whatever you buy.
The wealthy, the rich. And so now, what do you want to do? Go back to that system. You have the workers and the owners. Everybody in America should be a business owner. However, not everybody should be in the business of starting a company, and not everybody should be in the business of operating a company. So what does that mean? Well, you can be a worker and an owner, right? This concept of equity, you have to understand this because wealthy people are working for equity. They're not just working for a salary. And so what you want to do now is you want to understand, okay, I'm working every day to get paid. Now, what are you doing with the salary? Either you can take the salary and go out and spend all of it, or you can take some of the salary now and work to build equity. Maybe that's in stocks. Maybe that's in real estate. Maybe that's in your own company. So you're building equity. You're literally buying ownership in companies. If you go out and buy a share of, say, McDonald's, you become one of the owners of the McDonald's company. And now when the McDonald's valuation goes up, you get to share in that because the price of your stock, the value of your stock goes up. And so it's how you start and you learn. And each one of the things that you kind of do, you're going to learn something new and you're going to be able to apply that to the next thing. And it really is that shift. I call it the minority mindset, thinking differently than the majority of people, because it's doing something different. Most of us are taught just to be consumers. Think about the last time your teachers taught you about the importance of investing your money. Exactly.
They couldn't hope to teach me.
And so that's where you have to be willing to go out of your way to learn how some of these things work. Because if you don't, you're just going to be a pawn in the system. And it's very unfortunate. It sucks. And this is where I'm trying to help provide that education, because these are things I never grew up learning. These are things that I wish somebody would have told me. I see it in so many people. I used to guest teach in Detroit public schools.
Whoa.
And, these are good kids from rough areas. A lot of times don't have two parents in the home. Sometimes don't even have a parent in the home. There were some kids who didn't have, or his mom is not around. He was raised by a gang just because there's no parents. And so they provided him shelter. And it's crazy because you get stuck into a system, a cycle, because you don't have any way of learning or seeing anything else. And, like one of the first times I was there, I asked the kids, how many of you guys have a job? Most of them raised their hand. Most of them have an income. And they're in high school, right? They're going to school and they're working. And next question is, how many of you have a bank account? Nobody. Not a single person had a bank account. I was like, what do you do with your money? So we get a check, we go to the liquor store, we cash the check. Now the liquor store owner is going to take 1 to 10% of that check.
Oh God.
And then what are you going to do? You're going to buy candy, you're going to buy pop, you're going to buy a bunch of dumb stuff on your way out. And now you're left with only half of your check. And now what do you do? It's this, I like to call it net zero thinking, where if I have cash, I need to spend it. I have $500 in my bank account, I got to make that zero. If I have $1,000, I got to spend it, because we think, oh my God, if I had 10 grand, I would go on this nice vacation. If I had 50 grand, I would buy this car. We think in terms of, it's that consumer mindset of, if I have this money, I need to spend it. But this is where we have to break out of that and understand, what can we do differently? And instead of just spending all of this money, and it's much more difficult now because of the higher cost of living, but it's so much more important now than ever, where you got to create this margin. I call it like an equation where, your wealth is really, you take your income minus your expenses, and that's equal to your investments plus your savings. So you take your income, whatever money you make, you subtract your expenses, your houses, your home, your clothes, your car, whatever your expenses are. And if you have some money left, either this money is going to be saved or it's going to be invested. Well, if you have some money left, you're already, doing something that a lot of people are not doing. You're more than the majority of people. Right now, I just read a study yesterday. 7 out of 10 Americans across the board are living paycheck to paycheck. 50% of Americans that are making $250,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. It's not how much money you make, it's what you do with the money you make that is so important. And so now, if you have a buffer, you're already better than the majority of people. Now the question is, what do you do with it? Well, we're taught, save it. Save all of it. So your investments are zero, and your savings, you're trying to grow that, thinking that you're gonna become wealthy. But you're never gonna be able to outsave inflation. Your savings are literally making you poorer each and every day. However, you don't want to just not save any money. You got to be strategic with it. What I like to say is, there are 3 reasons why you should be saving money. You save money for an emergency, have somewhere between 3 to 12 months worth of expenses, depending on your risk tolerance. Save money for a big purchase. You want to buy a car, you want to buy a house, you need some cash to do that. Save money for an investment. If you're not saving money for one of these 3 reasons, you are saving your money the wrong way, and it's making you poorer each and every day. You invest for retirement. You talk about retirement, we're about to face a big retirement crisis, because traditionally retirement was what people like to call a 3-legged stool. You had your Social Security, you had your pension, and then you had your own investments or your savings, what a lot of people like to do. Well, pensions are something you only read in history books anymore. They're a thing of the past. So those don't exist anymore. Social Security is running into a very, very, very big dilemma, because right now, if you are, under the age of 45, the Social Security money that you're paying isn't going to go to fund your Social Security income. It's going to fund somebody else to retire, because the Social Security program has much bigger expenses than income. And so it is on the path of being completely dried up, of just running out of money. There's a lot of reasons for it. It's how the Social Security money is spent. It's how many people are requiring Social Security money, how long people are living for, how long these Social Security checks have to go out for. A lot of bad calculations, bad investing. And so the Social Security fund is now drying up. And so now everyone says, well, I'm not worried about it, because the government can just print more money and do bigger Social Security checks. That's what we're seeing this year. We saw between 2021 and now, the biggest Social Security raise ever is between 5 and 6%, something in that range, which one is already not keeping up with inflation. So yeah, you got a bigger Social Security check, but no, it's not buying you as much as you could have last year. If the government is going to print more money, which means the Fed is going to print money, give that to the government to give you bigger social security checks. What does that mean? You got a bigger check, great, but now the cost of things have grown even faster than the growth of your check. You cannot outprint inflation. It just creates more inflation. And so, so you had the pension that's essentially gone for the vast majority of people. Social Security is not going to be able to fund your retirement, which leaves people with the third stool, which is your own investments. Now, traditionally, you say, I'll save some money, save 10% of your income. That's not going to do it. Your savings are going to make you poorer each and every day. And the second thing is your 401k. And, it's a great start for the average investor because now it is like automatic putting a little bit of money into some investments. However, your 401k was never, ever, ever intended to be your sole investment plan. The founder of the 401k even came out and said that the 401k has gone awry. It is a monster because now so many people are hoping that they're going to be able to rely on their 401k to retire. And that's not what it's intended for. And it will never be able to be enough for you. And so a lot of people have this false hope that, okay, yeah, whatever, Social Security will give me a little bit extra, but my 401k will take care of me. But that was never the plan. And so now what does that mean? Your 401k, just think of that like as if you invest in your 401k, your IRA, that is the absolute base. Your savings are not going to do it. This is where you have to go out and invest yourself. And that's where, oh my God, how do I do that? We're never taught how to do this. We're never told how to do this. We're never given direction on how to do this. So you have to be the one now to go out of your way to start learning this. And thank God for YouTube because now we've decentralized education. But the question is now, you have to be willing to do it and you have to understand who your teachers are. Because there's crap on YouTube. There's also good stuff on YouTube. And we're never taught how to learn. We're usually just taught what to learn. So now we have to be willing and go out of our way to become smarter, to start learning and understand how do we learn the right things and then apply it. Because the downfall with investing is it's risky. You got to be willing to get punched in the face. You have to be willing to lose money because it's a part of the process and it sucks. It sucks losing money. I made a video on my YouTube channel, Minority Mindset, where I went over my worst real estate deal ever. And the reason why I made it is so you can see, look, every real estate investor has got at least one bad deal. And to date, that's the only deal that I've ever lost money on. And I'll walk you through every single bad thing because everything that could have gone wrong, went wrong, plus a whole lot more. And it was one of the biggest headaches of my life. But my goal is, yeah, you can laugh at me, make fun of me, but you're going to see like, holy cow, things can and will go wrong. So just anticipate it because it's your real life tuition. You got to be willing to learn and it's a price to pay. And it's one of those things where, just like with entrepreneurship, everybody wants to be successful as an entrepreneur. Everybody wants to be rich. How many people are going to be willing to get punched in the throat and keep going, keep getting back up and keep doing it? It's very difficult, which is why, not everybody should be an entrepreneur. Try it, but it's not for everybody. But everybody can work to own this equity, right?